Good evening. Coming up later, tonight's film is Emmanuel, with all the nudity replaced by the B-movie in its entirety. But now, it's 8 o'clock. It's the Grimm Show.
Gonna talk about Project Down. This video doing the round.
Digging his hole, all in the ground. So big and sold around it wasn't there, was I? Digging it deep, it was flat at the bottom and the sides were steep.
Hello, lovelies. The pub is almost uniquely a British Isles institution. Plenty of other cultures and nations have drinking institutions, the beer cellar, the taverna, the sports bar, but the pub is something just a little bit different, and this can make it hard to describe properly to people who aren't from this part of the world. You'll find knockoff pubs in places like America, but you might as well be in fucking Epcot for all the authenticity that they have. So, have you ever wondered exactly what a pub is? Tried to understand its role in British society? It's more than just a few pints and chicken in a basket. It's dinner and therapy. It's a third space. It's the place where you run into your best mate after more than a year without seeing him and pick up exactly where you left off. It's where your grand's ashes got taken for a last G&T before being scattered in the beer garden. It's where you squabbled over footy, where you laugh until your cheeks hurt, and where you broke up with your first love over a snakebite in black. Personally, I'm a traitor to British kind, as I don't like tea or pubs, but I can recognise the importance that they have to a lot of people, and the effect that their absence can have. Hell, my village of not more than 1,000 people used to have 3 pubs, and still has 2, and then there's another one in the next tiny village over. We used to have one for each category of social class, but even antisocial moi can see the point of the pub and the role it plays, and how important it is to a lot of people. I mean, sure, we've still got Pret, Starbucks, expensive gyms, yawning rental offices that you can get protein shakes from and hot desk all the time, but it's just not the same. The pub, that's the place that stood on every high street, social, messy, supremely British. Some of them are over 1,000 years old, which can be hard for the colonial mind to comprehend. But if we look around, we see that publicans are hanging up their aprons, chains of swallowed character, entire neighbourhoods are losing what you might call their beating heart. It's a uniquely British expression of a common ailment across the technologically advanced West, the wired-in West, and it is a breakdown of community, or more accurately, I suppose, local community, because it's being replaced with other things. But even I, techno-fetishist as I am and pub hater as I am, can tell that something potentially quite important is dying out. Alright, let's rewind. Pubs used to be very local, family run. Your landlord was someone who lived locally, knew your name, your usual order, probably grew up around you, and knew which darts team you were in. There was locality and familiarity. Then came the big breweries. They gobbled up the free houses, turned them into tied houses. Here's the beer you must sell, here's your margin, don't ask questions. And this drained the atmosphere and individuality from the places. The publicans got changed more often than the barrel did. Individual character drained away, replaced by corporate mass marketing. Chains like Wetherspoons made a big splash, cheap beer, relatively speaking, meals at breakfast prices, loud kids running everywhere, and loyalty card schemes. But you lose the local, you lose the history. It's replaced with spreadsheet hospitality and checkboxes. Pubs became logistics, not character. Profit and loss across the chain, not a local vision or a local version. Some pubs tried to fight back or take a different path to this, trying to compete with it. Some called themselves gastropubs, concentrated hard on the food, helped dissolve that bad reputation that Brits have had for food, undeservedly, I must say. They hung up mood lighting, produced fancier menus, did local and farm-bought stuff, and they hoped that the middle-class Instagrammers would crowd in, and in some places they did. But when you turn your pub into a rustic restaurant, it's not really a pub anymore. Others tried community ownership, pubs doubling as post offices, community hubs, defibrillator stations, substitute village halls. It all sounds brilliant, really, and it's the kind of voluntarist and communitarian approach I love. So yeah, it sounds brilliant, sometimes it is, but often you might have a smart menu, but nowhere near enough foot traffic to justify it. Yeah, a village of 500 people can't sustain 3 nights of gastro grills of expensive posh food, and can't tolerate the noise pollution from open mic nights over the weekend. It takes dedicated people to make these kind of pubs work, and dedicated people are rare. Not just the dedicated people to run it, you have to have buy-in from the village. The dedicated people who will commit to attending as much as possible, and while people might commit to it, when the rubber hits the road, they probably won't turn up in anything like the numbers they think they will. 2007 is a bit of a landmark year for these changes as well, and the full shift to family friendly. We cleaned up the air with a smoking ban on these places, which is great. Now you can drink without smelling like an ashtray. I don't smoke, I don't want to breathe it in, and I think overall this was probably the best decision, but it did contribute to the changing face of pubs. Pubs became less pubby. They lost a lot of their regulars who couldn't go for that long without a smoke. Pubs had to adapt to a crowd of off-putting smokers just outside the door, getting their fix, or had to refit the beer gardens to make them more hospitable in all weathers. At the same time, licensing hours got longer. There wasn't a universal chucking out time, and so some pubs stayed open all the way to midnight, even beyond, even all day and all night. But most punters don't hang out until that time on a Tuesday. It diluted the footfall, it increased staffing costs into unsociable hours with little traffic, little spend, and what replaced it weren't golden hours, it was ghost shifts. At least with chucking out time, you had a rush of orders just before. So why do people actually go to pubs? The main reason, I think, is because it's easy. Because you're halfway home tired from work and fancy a pint, or you saw one of your friends in there through the window. Or maybe you're out shopping on the weekend and you need something to eat and to put your feet up, but you don't want to spend a lot of money. Or at least that used to be the case. You don't go for the wine flights or the cocktail events. You just want something. Or you're already down in the village recreation ground playing cricket and you need a drink. And the pubs are there on the high street or wherever else nearby, right where you need them to be, conveniently signposted. COVID turned a lot of that normal logic on its head. Lockdown meant bars were closed, then reopened with limits, curfews, queues, paperwork and concerns. The smoking ban meant the beer gardens at pubs were suitable for social distancing, but it wasn't the same, and you weren't already out for some other reason and then stopping by the pub, conveniently, like you would have normally done. COVID just accelerated what was already happening. People shop online now rather than going to the high street. The high street is boarded up and full of homeless people most places. And a pub usually just isn't a destination in and of itself. It's somewhere you happen upon while you're doing something else. So after that, you didn't just go in for a pint. The effort felt disproportionate. The pub was no longer convenient. It couldn't compete, certainly cost-wise, with a six-pack and the sofa, or food and drink delivered straight to the living room. Kasara can it, drinking at home in your pants, isn't just Finnish culture now, it's global. Sociologists have a way of describing places like pubs. Home is the first place, work is the second place, and the third place used to be places like pubs, libraries, and community centres. But we've swapped pubs for Discord channels, group texts and passive scrolling. We have highly selective tech-enabled communities now, which, if I'm honest, are better as a user experience, but are they healthier, politically, socially, personally? compared to mixing with somewhat random people who may not entirely agree with you on things? Yeah, probably not. What's better subjectively to us by ourselves isn't necessarily what's better for society as a whole. People don't typically physically meet anymore unless it's somewhere that they have to go, like the gym, which is a transaction, not a connection, or because of a dating app, which is pretty much the same, just a lot more fun and easier to form habits around. By killing the pub, we killed a place where folk could pause and just be together, side by side, in the same space, and then maybe recognise each other later on, at least by sight. But that pause is gone now, and instead it's all productivity. There's little in the way of that pause, that breath. I mean, pubs also used to be political hotspots, but not in a nasty way, but they were still neutral ground of a sort. Some drunk philosopher holding forth on a topic at the table and other people arguing or ignoring them. Now, not so much. Even the pubs are divided. I mean, consider Wetherspoons. Founder, Tim Martin, Brexit champion, plastered Leave slogans behind the bar and above the urinals. It wasn't a subtle political alignment, it was full-throated and full retard. Now you've got drinkers who cross into pubs like they're faction lines. You know, don't go in there. The owner's a Brexiteer or a Ramona. Your local is now your political postcode too. You always had different pubs associated with different communities. Goth pubs, punk pubs, pubs for farmers, lawyers, cricketers, serial killers. But this division is something else, something more contentious. It is the curated digital space, but in meat space. Speaking of divisions, pubs also used to be a very male-coded space, apart from the barmaid, obviously. And that was the way it was for a very long time. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing. Pubs opening up to more people is great, but it is part of a broader trend of the loss of male-only spaces, while female-only spaces have been maintained. Pubs were, for a very long time, a place where a bloke could relax, remove his mask, be himself, not have to worry about presenting something in case there was a woman there. The occasional gent needing a male-only refuge found it there, perhaps a place to unwind before gear shifting from work to home and wife. Better than sitting alone in his car for 10 minutes to decompress. But that changed, and that's probably a good thing. Women came into the space, families came into the space, perhaps less good. Pub culture was sanitised for inclusivity and safety, and in many ways that is great, but it also excluded something that was important. It erased a safe space, a safe place for dudes, and for workers, to be honest. And now you've sanitised character into blandness. No darts, no banter, no dark corners, no smoking. What used to be an escape isn't one anymore. And the male refuge evaporated, the rough edges were removed. Probably kept a lot of places solvent, but it did come at a price. And there's a class shift as part of that too, as I just alluded to. I mean, let's talk beers. Mild, brown ale, cider, lager, maybe a pint for under £1 back in the day. Perhaps some whiskey if you're feeling flush and adventurous. But now, triple hops, sour stouts, things in punky multicoloured cans, Instagram-worthy pints in glasses of special ilk. That shift to hipsterism pushed out a lot of working class regulars, and even camera find it ridiculous and pretentious. Pubs became performance spaces, backdrops to TikTok and Instagram. The regulars were just part of the characterful wallpaper, not valued necessarily in and of themselves. The locals shifted to whiny Friday nights. Your Saturday session costs more than Monday's paycheck. Your pub looks like Hollywood's conceit of what a pub is supposed to be. That's not really an evolution, it's exclusion. It's the plague of the age, I think. chasing the new or modern audience and sacrificing the old in so doing. And the cost, yeah. Cheap off-license lager, £3 for a 4-pack from the off-license, that's an absolute bargain compared to pub prices. And if you really want to scare yourself, look at the pub prices in London. So why travel out of your home, away from all your conveniences and comforts, to a crowded space that you don't necessarily particularly like, where you probably don't know many people, and probably don't feel particularly welcome in? And then, having overcome all of that, you're expected to pay multiple times what you would for if you just got some cans and drank at home. So now you sit in your room, eating Deliveroo kebab, live streaming video games, ranting into Discord with your 100 closest friends around the world. You can feel connected, but you don't feel together. That meat space, body-to-body rhythm is gone. And I'm not someone who lionizes the idea of being physically together, side by side, cheek by jowl, and so on. But body language, serves a purpose. And even if it's not my bag, I can see how other people miss it and suffer without it. Yeah, and if you're sat at home, in your pants, you mostly don't have to put up with being hit on, or interrupted, or being challenged to a fight because of a case of drunken mistaken identity. He's not worth it. You still have to put up with conspiracy theories and awful politics, but at least you can block or mute someone in the digital space in a way that you can't in reality. We touched briefly on gender, and the pub probably had to change. Women should have felt safe walking in alone or bringing a baby with them. But again, something was lost along the way, and something that was perhaps equally important in its own way. The world shifted in a positive fashion, but in the rush to include a lot of character and specialness was lost. Another thing sacrificed to make other people feel safe. The pubs used to be a special sort of space, not a coffee shop or a tea house. Safe is good, sanitized is soulless. We frequently seem to confuse the two to our detriment. So where does it go, then? Some locals want the old way back, but that's not happening. This rant may seem like old man nostalgia, but it isn't. I'm speaking as an outside observer of pubs, not someone who loves them. People want the community that pubs bring, and so they try to turn them into these community hubs, try to get backing from the local council or central funding, but it's hard to justify subsidising a local boozer that's meant to be an ongoing business concern. Attempts have been made, but these shoestring community pubs face very rough challenges: limited beer choices, too many people involved in decision making, a confused purpose. Is it a pub? Is it a post office? Is it a village shop? Is it the town hall? What is it? Some people think the age of pubs is finished, and there's a lot of evidence to support that. You've got empty buildings, shuttered doors, buildings turned into flats and co-working spaces, taking over the place that used to be the corner boozer. And once they're gone and no longer a pub, that seems to be it forever. It seems like it's too difficult, too expensive, given the pressures on the industry to turn any of these buildings back. The last pub standing might end up operating like a museum, photos on the walls, a stale scent of nostalgia. You might pay a fee for the experience rather than the pint, a living museum. And the rest of them might end up razed to the ground. A Tesco Metro standing in place of a pub with its express checkout rammed with people buying cheap tinnies to drink at home alone in their pants. So let's recap then. We're losing the heart of the neighbourhood, the third place social space, one of the few that remains, the flawed human warmth, and being forced to get on, to exist in the same space as people who disagree with us. The routines that used to knit us all together, and we're being priced out and squeezed out in various ways. And what's replaced it? Convenience, the home as the bar, digital friendship, and gentrified blandness on the pubs that remain. So the pub, once a messy, glorious British institution, is now a relic, a memory, or a hashtag. Is that progress? Maybe. In America, the church seems to fulfill a similar role, a fact that seems to shock a lot of Americans, certainly in smaller communities, and ignoring the mega churches. I think losing churches is an almost unalloyed good, but social cohesion and community identity is built by both, and that is being lost with the loss of both. And if you drink alone in your living room tonight while doom scrolling TikTok, I hope you feel the echo and the same pang and sense of loss that I do. Britain used to do pubs. It's one of those things you can point at when trying to identify what British culture is, along with queuing and indirect communication styles. Now we let them turn into housing, or DPD drop-off points, or tapas bars with artisan graffiti. I give them 6 months. Or, God forbid, vape stores. Could we call them back? Policy can't recreate atmosphere. Community can. But does the community still want it? And it doesn't seem like it, even when great effort is gone to revive local pubs and turn them into those community hubs. Maybe revival isn't sounding the klaxon, it's carving out new traditions and new ways to do things. Meal deals to pub deals, curry nights, that sort of thing. Field nights, book clubs, board game meetings. Maybe the pub evolves and becomes a proper full-on cultural node again, with people coming to the pub because it's a place. A place that does stuff, a place that is worth going to. Not because it's cheap or close by when they do something else. Maybe like the village shop or the post office, it slowly slips out of existence and no one quite remembers what things used to be like. But then again, pubs have changed before. As I said, some of them are over 1,000 years old in continuous operation. Coaching inns aren't a thing anymore because we don't have coaches anymore, but the places still exist as pubs. Gastropubs, pub chains, Instagram-worthy set dressing, trying to turn them into destinations and community hubs. These are all examples of pubs striving and trying to find new ways to survive. And maybe one of them will work, and they'll find a way, just as they have in the past. And even though they're not really my thing, I hope they do figure it out. So, pour one out for the shuttered pubs, raise a glass to yourself in the black mirror, and let's hope they survive. Zang. There's a magical time on the cusp of true adolescence, where you're no longer quite a child and not yet an adult. A time where the confidence of the teenager and the wonder of the child combine in a surge of optimism, hope and imagination to make some of the most important moments of our lives. There's a rich vein of films that tap into this time. These are the films where the kids save the world, find something fantastical, or solve a problem that the adults can't, or wouldn't even believe existed. Some of these are fantastical, some are not. Some are a loving homage to the older versions of the same sorts of stories. If you like The Goonies, Super 8, The Monster Squad, or Explorers, this is a game for you and your kids. Available at post-mort.com and drive-through RPG.